Today's lesson is an inquiry lab. So we're moving now on to subtracting integers, and we're going to do a little lesson on modeling how to subtract integers, just like we did modeling how to add integers. So today we're going to use counters on how to subtract integers. So we have a positive 5 minus a negative 6. So what you're going to do first is take your first add-in, or well, your first number in your problem, and it is going to become an add-in actually when you're subtracting integers, but you're going to take your first number, your 5, and you're going to place 5 counters out that matches what you have here. So you're going to have 5 yellow counters to match your positive 5. And it says you're going to take away a negative 6. The problem here is that you don't have a negative 6 counters to take away. So what you have to do is you have to add 6 negative counters in to take away your 6. So in order to do that, what you do is you add a 0 pair to equal your 6. So what that means is you need to add your 6 negatives, but in order for you to legally mathematically add your negative 6 counters, you're going to add your positive 6 with them. Because for every negative you add, if you add a positive with it, a negative and a positive, 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 they all equal 0. Each one of these is a 0 pair. So like we learned in the last section, that's each 0 pair, the additive inverse property equals 0. The opposites equal 0. So you're not changing the value at all. So that makes it mathematically legal. So you can add this to that and you're not changing the value. Now, once you've done that, you can now then take away those values. You can take away those negative values. So you can then take away those negative 6. So if you add here 6 0 pairs to your math, you then can take away your 6 negative counters, and the remaining are then positive. So 5 minus a negative 6 is going to then equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The difference between the distance is 11 meters. Okay? Turn the page, please, to page 212. Let me scroll up. On page 212, now we're going to do investigation number 2, which is a negative 6 minus a negative 3. This is when your numbers are the same. So if I have a situation where I have a negative 6 counters, and if I'm going to take away my negative 3, I can do that. 6, take away my 3, I'm now left with a negative 3. Okay? There are 6 negative counters. I take away my negative 3, I'm left with a negative 3. Pretty simple. Anytime the signs and integers, anytime the signs are the same, it really is quite simple. Here, there isn't a whole lot you have to change. Okay, so now we're going to move on to investigation number 3. Investigation number 3 is using the counters to find a negative 5 minus 1. So you're going to place, because negative 5 is first, you're going to place your 5 negative counters on your mat. And now you have to add 1 0 pair because you need to take away that positive 1. And we don't have a positive 1. So you put a 1 0 pair on your mat, a plus 1 and a negative 1, and then you can take away that 1 positive counter. Okay? So there are now how many negative counters left? 6 negative counters remaining. So a negative 5 minus 1 is a negative 6. Okay? So for tomorrow, you're going to come back. Bring back your book, just like before. I don't want you to do anything else. Just bring back your book, and I want you to, we're going to do the rest of it together in class. But before we move on, I think what I want to do is I'm going to go through a little bit with you using the algebra tiles, just to make sure that you have a complete understanding of what you're doing. So if I have, just to review, if I have a positive, well, let's do negative. If I have a negative 3 minus a negative 2, okay? I'm going to take a negative 3 counters And I need to take away a -2 because subtraction means take away. So I'm going to take away a -2 counters. So a -3 minus a -2. So I take away a -2, I'm left with a -1. Okay? Again, when the signs are the same, it's quite simple. Okay? Now, if I have, 8, let's say I have 8, and I want to take away a -3. Okay? So I need to start with my 8 counters. There are my 8 counters. And I need to take away a -3. Do I have a -3 counters to take away? I don't. So what do I have to do to take away my -3? What am I going to do to take away my -3? The only thing I can do is to add a 0 pair. So I'm going to add a 0 pair in order to add my -3. So I need to add those negatives to it. But I can't legally add my -3 with it unless I also add my positives. Because mathematically, I need to add, or I can't change that value at all. I can't change this value by adding it to it. And if that's 0, that's 0, and that's 0. So that doesn't change that value. Once I put them all together, now this is all in one. Can I now take away my -3? Now I can. And now I'm left with 11. Okay? Now I'm left with 11. What if I have a -5 minus 4? What if I had a -5? So now let's start with a -5. And I want to subtract 4 from that. I want to take away 4 from that. I have to first then add my 0 pair, right? And I need 4 of them, don't I? I'm going to put this one on this side so it doesn't cover up my 4. Okay? So there's my -5, but I have to add my 4 0 pairs to it in order to take away my +4. Now I can take away my +4. And what am I left with? 5 and 4 is a -9. I'm left with a -9. That's how you do subtracting integers using algebra class. So for tomorrow, what I would like you to do is bring back your book. You don't have to do anything. You should have completed we just did page 211 and 212 together. So you need to bring back your book, and we're going to do 213 and 214 just like we did the other day in class and answer any questions or anything that you might have, and then we'll move forward, okay? And I will see you tomorrow.